Hi, everybody. Welcome or welcome back. Hannah here. I have returned with another tarot video for all of you. Today, I want to talk about the things that I wish I had done when I started learning how to read tarot. So, if that sounds interesting to you, grab a drink, have a seat. We're going to hang out. All right, so before I get started, I just want to say huge disclaimer, there is always something new to learn about tarot. Even the most advanced practitioners will tell you that they don't know everything because there's just so much to know. This video is intended for really anyone who is tarot curious, but specifically for those who may be newer on their tarot journey. If you are in advice gathering mode, or if you're an advanced practitioner and you're curious about how other people read, I think this could be a really fun discussion in the comments. And again, these are all things that have made a big difference for me in how I read, and they're things that I wish that I had started doing sooner. Some of it is more conventional tarot learning wisdom that I just ignored because I hate being told what to do. Or there are things that I came across later that I think would have sped things up for me. So here we go. All right, so the first one is immediately kind of a cop out. um, lived experience, in my opinion, is the best way to learn the tarot cards. You don't have to do a reading for yourself every single day, which might be a controversial opinion, but just taking a moment every day to draw a card and sitting with it, taking a moment to study it, to absorb the symbolism, and to look at the guidebook for it and the keywords will really help you absorb it. It's not an overnight process. There are 78 cards to learn, and some of them are really hard. I would argue, though, that if you want to do really deep, insightful readings for other people, you have to develop a relationship with your deck and with your cards. I used to feel very confused when tarot readers would talk about this, like, what does that even mean? But it makes sense the longer that you work with tarot because you are developing your relationship with those cards. You'll also come to learn that certain cards will mean things in different contexts. And by doing a pull every day or regularly, and you work with the energy of that single card, how that card appears in certain contexts is going to make itself more known to you. The next tip would be to learn numerology as it relates to tarot. This is probably one of my favorite hacks. Um, and there are nuances to every card, but generally speaking, if you can learn some keywords for numbers 1 through 10, you've got the minor arcana pretty much sorted out. And those are like 40 cards. So I wish this is probably the number one thing I wish I had started doing sooner is just learning the numerology. It will not explain every card, but it will give you a good foundation to work with. So definitely think about that. My next tip is to use tarot spreads. I prefer to read intuitively, but I still use tarot spreads for myself. Um, Spreads are so good. They're great because they give every card a job. And I don't mean pull out the Celtic cross every day. You can do very simple 2 or 3 card spreads. One of my favorites is actually from the Dreamkeeper's Tarot, from the guidebook for that. The author Liz Houston has a this or that spread instead of a card of the day. And what you do, you pull this card or that card, and you pick if you want to have a this kind of day or a that kind of day. I think that's so cool, and it really puts the power back in your hands. But anyway, all that to say, use tarot spreads, especially when you're starting out. It will make things a lot less confusing for you, and I promise it will help you learn the cards in context a little better. Next, learn about the Fool's Journey. So, the Fool's Journey is to learn numerology for the minor arcana, what it is to me for the majors, if that makes sense. By learning the Fool's Journey, you're going to learn about the archetypes of the major arcana in the sense of a story. And if you are like me, I find that learning it that way is very useful. One of my first tarot decks was the Mystical Manga Tarot, and Barbara Moore, who is a tarot legend, wrote the guidebook for that one. And the whole book was structured around the Fool's Journey and was narrated as the Fool's Journey. You can very easily look up the Fool's Journey online. It'll pop up if you type in the Fool's Journey Tarot, and that will help you understand the major arcana as the archetypes that they are. And that will help you kind of learn them in the context of like the story that they tell. Court cards are tricky. They're still kind of tricky for me, honestly. They're hard to understand because they can mean different things. They can be people, they can be an energy that you need to embody, they can be yourself. Um, there's just a lot of ways you can read court cards. And one of my favorite ways to learn the court cards was to find people in my life that matched those qualities. So, for instance, you can use astrology for this if you want, because every card has an astrological association. You can use astrology, you don't have to. My husband is a Libra, and he's also an attorney. And so for him, he is my king of swords in a lot of ways. You can also assign fictional characters to these archetypes. And this is also where tarot spreads come in handy, because based on where the court card is in your spread, sometimes that can give you clues as to whether the court card represents a querent, somebody else, or an energy. Another thing to remember about court cards is that they are a progression as well, from student to master. If I was doing a reading for somebody and the focus was more so on self development, if I saw Page of Swords and Queen of Swords together, I might think about that as the querent who began as a student, which is a page, and then stepping into the role of queen as they have learned on their journey. My next thought is to buy a deck that you genuinely want to work with. Now, I do think that RWS is a great jumping off point because that's kind of what most tarot is structured around. But if you try to force it with an RWS deck that you can't stand, you're not going to want to learn to read tarot. So for me, my solution was to have two working decks. One was a study deck, which was the original Rider-Waite-Smith, and then I had a deck that I really just enjoyed working with, and I used both of them. And I found that actually doing that way really kind of enriched my experience a little bit. But that's my point though. Like, don't force it. If you don't like the deck, it's going to make it so much harder. Another one that might be a little controversial, but for me, in school, I was a write it down and remember it kind of girl. And so rote memorization really can be helpful. As boring as it is, um, I found that flashcards were really helpful. Make a Quizlet for yourself if you have to. There's also an app, Labyrinthos. Labyrinthos. I think they started using AI, unfortunately, but they used to have a really cool gamification kind of thing, like where you got quizzed on tarot card meanings. I enjoyed that one a lot. But all that to say, rote memorization, quiz yourself if that works for you and your learning style. Because unfortunately, at the very beginning of learning tarot, a lot of it really is just putting it in your brain. My next tip is to sleep with your deck. It works. I'm kind of kidding, I'm kind of not. um, you don't have to sleep with your tarot deck under your pillow, but spending time with your deck is definitely going to help. Even if you aren't going to do a reading, pull your deck out and just look at the images, shuffle your cards a little bit. The more that you expose yourself to the imagery, the more you're going to remember it. Again, it's all about just getting it in there at first. Some people say that reading reversals is too much to start, and I kind of agree. But I would also argue that learning about the shadow sides of the cards as you learn about the more positive upright meanings is going to give you a more holistic picture of the card. And by understanding the card in light and in shadow, for me, I think it actually helped me remember the meanings more. Because we're getting a fuller picture of what these archetypes represent. And by knowing the full story, you're going to be able to give more meaningful and rich readings. Now, of course, you don't have to do this. I do think it can be a lot to remember at the start. But I would encourage you to maybe try it for just a suit of the minors, maybe, or the first few of the major arcana, and see how it works for you and what you think about that. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You can come back and learn the reversals. But if you think you can do it, I would do it. All right, my last tip is to read and read and read and read. Read everything that your little brain can on tarot. Um, I've seen some kind of disturbing thoughts on social media about how like real tarot readers throw away their guidebooks. Don't do that. Don't throw away your guidebooks. Read the guidebook. Because here's the thing, like a card might mean something different in um a certain tarot system than in your original Rider Waite. Don't throw away the guidebook. Read them. The authors put a lot of effort and study and time into those. And you can get a lot of great information from your guidebooks. Likewise, um, look to other sources. Read 78 Degrees of Wisdom, you know. Um, really try to see yourself as a student in all of this and be patient with yourself because you're not going to earn a doctorate in tarot studies overnight. It's just not going to happen. Um, at the end of the day, tarot will give back to you what you put into it. It's like anything else, right? So don't be afraid to study it because you will find very quickly that there will be a time at the beginning where every card you lay down doesn't make any sense and nothing's sticking. And then suddenly one day it's like you'll wake up and suddenly everything is flowing and you're reading tarot and you feel like you're a tarot reader. And that day comes a lot sooner than you think it will. Okay. Those are my thoughts, guys. I would love to hear from other practitioners. What would you tell a tarot newbie? What advice would you give to somebody who was new? What worked for you whenever you were reading tarot? What conventional advice maybe did you follow that you feel like maybe slowed you down a little bit? I want to hear about it in the comments. All right, guys, thank you so much for everything as always. I will be back very soon with another video. Thank you.